people were talking about it in the crowd. Is he here? Where's SOMEKID?
Welcome, everyone, to This Was The Scene, the podcast that takes a look back at the late 90s, early 2000s punk scene. I am your host, Mike Doyle. Chris Gethard is a comedian based out of Queens, New York, with proud roots in West Orange, New Jersey. He can be seen performing all over the world. In NYC, you can often catch him at the Comedy Cellar, and he's the host of the podcast Beautiful Anonymous, the author of the book Lose Well, and the figurehead of a television show that's actually more like a religious cult. So here's the connection with Chris and today's interview. Back in the late 90s, bands started getting websites. And on these websites were forums where people could chat about music, the scene, Hot Topic, white belts, chain necklaces, etc. It was a place for the scene to exist outside of shows. At this time, a random character named SOMEKID popped up on the boards and started talking shit to like fucking everybody. I believe this person was my first introduction to trolling, actually. They started so much shit that people in the scene wanted to basically kill this person, but no one ever found out who it was. That is until today. Luckily, Chris remembered this and reached out to me to talk about this whole story. Now, he presented this to me as he had a story, quote unquote, and you'll hear my confusion at the beginning of the episode. It takes us a few minutes to get to why he reached out, but holy fuck, is it completely worth it. Usually I'll break down every intro into what we talk about, but it's just a few stories about the scene, and then he goes right into this whole story, so just hold tight. Before we begin, I have a sponsor. I have a sponsor by JVix. JVix started the NJ Pop Punk Facebook group that a majority of us are in, and he wanted to sponsor today's episode, so we're going to talk about his company, JVI Mobile Marketing, which has been in business since 2012, founded by the former NJ pop punk band Red Rover and creator of the North Jersey pop punk Facebook group, JVix, as I already said. He has been building a digital marketing agency that has grown to over 100 clients from all around the country. The agency specializes in all sorts of digital marketing for local small businesses. Whether you need a logo, a website, automation, Facebook ads, or just more traffic and better rankings for your business, Jay and his team will work with you to find the best and most affordable solutions. To learn more, contact JVI Mobile today at 866-587-3837 or visit jvimobile.com. It's J as in J, V as in Vix, I as in iceberg, mobile.com. I'd also like to mention that the new website is officially up. I'm still kind of just, adding things to it, like, more store merch and things like that. But what I've done is I've categorized every single episode into its own page where it breaks down what the episode is about. But the cool thing is if you go to the front page and you do categories, you can hit like New Jersey or Pennsylvania, what do I do? Like California. There's a whole list like emo, punk, zines. So if you do that, it'll categorize all of those episodes that touch on that topic, and it can just lead you into past episodes that you might not have heard, and which are all great. Not just because it's my podcast, but they actually are super fun episodes. I've loved every single one of them, and this is number 66. So I've had 66 episodes that I've completely fucking loved. And I know a lot of people have loved them, so go check it out. And if you love this episode, please text it to a friend. Just do the share link in whatever your podcast app you're in and send it to somebody. Like, that is the best way to help me out. If you don't want to like donate or pay or anything like that or buy merch, the best way to help out, since I'm putting a lot of time into this, is just to get the word out. So easily just do that and just send the link to a friend and say, hey, check this episode out. You were part of the scene. I'm sure it'll make their day if they love that scene. And if you love it and you know someone's going to love it, then just fucking send it. And that really helps me out. Also on the website, I'm having people submit stories. So check out the latest one about Day at the Fair and Dashboard Confessional by Sean Bergen. I also have a couple more stories that are going to go up very soon, so I appreciate all the people who have sent those in. Just make sure that you're talking about the late 90s, early 2000s scene. It could be a story from an episode you heard where you had a different take on it, or you could add to it, and I don't know, whatever it is, I'm sure if you think it's stupid, it won't be, and I'm sure it's great. So just email me at thisisthescene@gmail.com, and I'll check it out, and that's it. Feel free to subscribe, leave a review, and share this with anyone who would love some nostalgia. With that said, let's get started. So this is going to be an interesting interview because I I'm trying to figure out how to structure it, and I think it's just gonna kind of take its own course because usually I'm talking to people about like going back in the scene, and then but you really wanted to tell a story,
Yeah, I mean,
which
I
I'm
would
not going to get
imagine.
into yet, but I want to just kind of structure this a little bit.
Well, I'm glad you're recording the awkwardness as we figure it out because I also imagine most of the people you talk to are people you know, and I
No,
don't know
no,
what's that.
no. A lot of them lately have just been people I reached out to. So
Well,
yeah,
or at least people you know in the sense that you are aware of them and how they play into the scene and your project and the things you have to do, rather versus me who randomly out of the dark bothered Ricky Supporta to put us in touch so that I could beg on to your podcast. I know this is weird.
no, no, it's not weird. I think it's great. I've interviewed people before that are just telling stories. I did a lot of interviews recently where it was just people who were going to shows, and there's a one girl that I just interviewed. I never have met her. She reached out and said, "Hey, I know that you're looking for female guests. I used to go to shows. Would you want to just get my take on it?" I was like, "Sure." And it went really well. And it's actually that one's gonna launch a couple before yours or the one right before yours.
Well, we'll see
Um,
if mine even comes out because it might wind up on the trash pile. I'm really interested to see.
they all come out, man. They everything they all. I mean, all of them are just conversations about that time. But Chris, I mean, like you said, he reached out to Ricky Saporta, and Ricky was like number 30s. I don't know. I should probably know all this shit better. But, a lot of people listening, the majority of people listening to this are from New Jersey, and people know who Ricky was. He did a lot of shows in like the Wayne Firehouse, and he did Manville. But Chris, it's interesting because I did a little research on you, and Chris is like, I went on your IMDb, and there's just like pictures with you on Conan.
Uh
I
huh.
was like,
Uh
what?
huh.
That's amazing. You got like a shit ton of follower. You have 97.4 thousand followers on Twitter.
Yeah.
You have a very nice website, and
Oh, thank you so much.
I'm very envious that you do stand up because I love stand up comedy more than anything. I did like an open mic in November and it was the greatest thing ever and I really want to get back up. So I'm so like just in awe or envious that you do this.
Well, that's really interesting, and I tell you, it all ties together both with my involvement in the scene, which maybe we should talk about that a little, and then with the thing I wanted to see if you remember,
Yeah.
because I got into comedy. A big part of why I got into comedy is because of punk, and because so my older brother's friends, um, when I was in eighth grade, they threw a show in the basement of a church in West Orange, the town where I grew
Now, is
up.
this the story or is this?
No, this is the precursor. This is me giving my bona fides to prove that I belong here.
Yeah, yeah. Let's talk about that.
So my first show was probably 1993 or four. It was in a church basement. It was Felix Frump, Missing Children, One Nature. Missing Children, of course, the lead singer was Frank, who went on to be in Degenerate. So I'm proving to you my Jersey bona fides here.
You're showing your scene points.
Yes, yes. And in the early days, I would say the biggest band for me was Weston.
Yep.
And then as my older friends and my brother's friends went to college, that's when the scene became the NGIPP thing. So I've seen your band dozens of times. Obviously, Humble Beginnings and Bigwig were the big dogs. And then my favorite from that scene, I think, was Boxcar. And saw all those bands. Wound up in college living with one of the guys who was in Shorty, if you remember the band Shorty.
Wait, Derek?
Derek was my roommate.
Get
Yeah,
the
yeah.
fuck out of here. I've talked about him recently. I talked about there was one episode where I don't think it's out yet. We were talking about Shorty, and I said, there's a lot like the whole NJPP archive. Have you seen that online?
Yeah, yeah.
And they're on there. And I remember someone I talked to. Oh yeah, it was the person before you. We were talking about. I said, there's a lot of stuff on there that there's like really good nostalgia, and then some of it's like just fucking bad. I mean, just some of the bands like we weren't
Oh, absolutely.
great, but there was always sure I brought Shorty up because there was one song that they had that I absolutely loved. Was it Mike? Wasn't he the singer?
Yeah, I forget his last name, but I believe that's correct.
Yeah, and he had this. there was just this one line or the way he sang this one melody in the song, and I remember he sent it to me, and I couldn't stop listening to it. I was like, dude, I love this song so much. So there was always these like even in the bands that were the majority of the songs I might not have been into, there was always that one thing. My point was that I was literally just talking about them. So it's so funny that you lived with Derek. Like that's so
Yeah.
fucking random.
So I want to first of all say I belong here in that sense. I was around. I was going to shows, booting Elks Lodge. When I got to New Brunswick, I went to Rutgers. It was the Melody Bar before they knocked it down. It was all that shit, man. Like I was around, and I was going to say, I think a big part of me getting into comedy was funny bands. Like one of the early Jersey bands I loved was Thirsty, really, really funny guys. Weston was a huge band for me, like I said, and really funny guys. And your band too. I always felt like you guys prioritized like having fun and being. I look back and realize, like you said, the music, some of it was good, some of it was not, but the banter was always funny. And
Yeah.
I really loved the banter. I was a banter guy. And I think seeing people my age being creative really did embolden me to become a comedian eventually. And I wound up putting out a few issues of a fanzine that wasn't very popular, but I think in our little scene, it got pretty popular, and Ricky really loved it. And
Which one?
it was called No Sign of Charlie. Almost no one read it, but it was all just kind of like funny articles. And it just sort of spread a little bit. And that's how I got to know Ricky pretty well. And he wanted to write articles for the third issue. But by the time he got me, he was dragging his feet, and I was going to do a pro wrestling issue. And I was a freshman at Rutgers. I was like, get me the thing, Ricky. It's the last thing. And by the time he got it to me, I'd fallen into it. When I got to Rutgers, I fell into a very deep depression and kind of just lost touch with everybody and stopped involving myself in music and just kind of struggled through that for years. And Ricky Supporter was the last one. By the time he got me the article, the depression had set in and the fanzine never came out. But
Because you're just like, just what's the point? I fall
yes.
into that now where things I do, where it's so frustrating because you work on something. Plus, it's like if you constantly keep doing things, it's like a band who's constantly touring and on their fourth album and no one's showing up and they're like, what the fuck are we doing this for? And that
Yes.
really adds to depression. Like,
Oh, 100%.
so much. So it was like, not to like, get into that super personal stuff, even if you might want to.
Oh,
Like,
I'll go there. Whatever you want.
like going in that direction, did doing the zine and all that stuff, and like, was that the reason why like Rutgers became difficult, or was it like just other shit?
Well, Rutgers, no, it was, I think that stuff actually made me happy. Music made me happy. The fanzine made me happy. I think I look back and realize, I think part of why I bailed on it was, oh, if I do this, then people are going to know how to get in touch with me. Like people from my past, or I'm going to get letters and emails that I'll have to answer and actually network with the outside world. I think it was just kind of like a pretty deep issue. I had, like many young people do, I had to push through it.
You're scared of success, basically.
Well, I think I was just scared of the world. I was scared of sunlight at that era in my life.
Wow.
So, yeah, so I did disconnect pretty hard from music once I got to Rutgers, which is, I think for any North Jersey punk kid, it's the opposite. I went there because that's where the bands were all going. That's where,
Yeah.
like I said, the Melody was there, the Court was there.
Were you still going to shows though? Like when you were, because what year was this when you were having issues? Was this freshman year or?
Well, my freshman year, I kind of hung on. Like 98, 99 was when I got there. So that was when I think your scene, our scene, it was still going strong. But that was, I remember when I would run into Gabe down there, and he always liked me because his brother had showed him my fanzine, and he was living in the house with the guys from Midtown at that point. Like it had switched from Humboldt to Midtown, and that was an exciting thing. And I was still going and seeing shows, and I used to hang out in this punk house with a bunch of my friends on Robinson Street, and the drummer from Planet Project lived there, and the guys from iFarm used to stay with them. So I was still in touch a little bit with stuff, but largely just kind of had to go off and fucking get my head together after a certain point.
I feel like a lot of comedians have this issue.
Oh, big time. It's kind of a plague amongst us. I think that was why, and I'm going to just
jump to the present and then go back. But I think that was why after I did the open mic thing, I was talking to my friend about it, and she's like, yeah, and she was just talking about all the comedians in the scene, and I'm like, and then I'm watching Crashing and listening to Pete Holmes, and I listen to like the majority of podcasts I listen to are like comedians. It's like obviously, Joe Rogan, then Pete Holmes, and then starting to like to listen to some Dax Shepard stuff now, and they all talk to comedians about this whole, that scene, and they're all negative, they're all depressed, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to try because like it's a gamble, and even though I love the craft, but the other one is like everyone just seems so fucking negative or just upset.
Yeah, it's tough. It's like I think there is this romanticized sad clown thing where it's like, oh, comedians have to be fucked up to be funny, and it's like it's really not true. And a lot of people get themselves into trouble sort of buying into that, and it's why you see a lot of substance abuse and a lot of people just like actively not treating their mental issues when they're comedians. And I do think the past handful of years, there's really been a big pushback against it. I think since, Robin Williams died and
who's that guy who just killed himself?
Brody Stevens,
yeah.
and Harris Whittles passed away from substance abuse. And I think a lot of people are like, can we just stop with this fucking bullshit, sad clown myth? And it's the same thing as like, after, I think when Kurt Cobain died, there was a lot of like, oh, like if you're a really tortured soul singer, that's something of value. And then I think a lot of us look back and go like, well, no, like obviously in his case, maybe it was, but the idea that like people now get to just be like fucked up, broken humans and no one ever tries to help them because it's somehow a commodity. It's really dark, really fucked up.
It's funny, not funny, but it's interesting. I guess I'll just say funny. I mean, that's when I would never write songs about happy moments. And I think Chris, who's also in Lane Meyer, all his stuff was always about you fucking bitch. Not like that sense, but he's like, you fucking broke my heart. I'm
pop
heartbroken.
Punk Descendants,
yeah,
problematic looking back on it style.
Yeah, it was. It gave. I always thought that it gave the music more life and it made it more vulnerable, which I love vulnerability. I love it when people are just not putting on some bullshit show and they're like, this is what it is. And I think that's what drew me to music. And same as you, I loved when a band was on stage. Like I loved Weston because Chuck and Dave were so fucking hilarious. And they were like, we just don't give a fuck. And I'm like, I love that. They're just being this way. And the music was upbeat and popular, even though some of their songs were like, the girl, you didn't want me, you rejected me. And when I was writing songs, I was dating a girl at the time, and I only wrote about the shitty stuff. I never like wrote her like a really nice song.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. That was the whole. I mean, I hear people sometimes bash pop punk now and say, "Oh, it's a problematic genre because so much of it is boys blaming girls for the problems," and there's truth to it. But I also look back and realize that I think, first of all, especially in North Jersey, I do remember there being strong females at shows. Like I remember a lot of I feel like a lot of the interactions I had with girls that were the most above board, the most straight talk, the most sort of like human to human, eye to eye when I was a preteen and a teenager were at punk shows. Like far as respecting 100%. Women. So I do remember that. And I do also remember, you listen to some of those old like Mr. T, like Love Is Dead by MTX. It's like, that whole album is about like being a heartbroken boy. And I get how that probably today could feel bad, but I also remember being 15 and feeling like, well, this is the thing that's kind of like keeping a smile on my face and helping me get out of bed in the morning when I'm going to public school, when I'm going to West Orange High School and literally trying to just not get the shit beat out of me every day. And yeah. I know that on Friday I get to go and see the OL Rebellion down at the VFW hall, and that's going to get me through the week. So there was some value to it, and some community to it that I think was very worthwhile.
Yeah, I mean, it made you feel like you weren't alone. And
yeah,
and I think that looking back too, it's one of the newer bands would come out. I think that they felt that was the entry point is. They would, because there was the bands like like iFarm or let's get obscure like Anal Cunt or or who the fuck else like Jiker. Remember Jiker, that ska band? I think they like used to take a toilet on stage and shit in it. Did you ever see
Oh,
these
that
guys?
sounds awesome. No, I didn't catch that.
I
I would have
heard about
remembered that.
them. I never saw them, but there was bands that went off in a different direction and said, let me show what's in my head that's not girl
Yeah,
related." But then there was a lot. The majority of them would brought on emo and the pop punk bands. I think they thought, well, I know that the bands I like are talking about girls, so this just gives me the playbook to start writing, and this is my first X amount of songs. So it has to be about girls, or it has to be about like a relationship or some shit
right.
like that, a broken heart.
That's what people can latch onto for sure. For
Yeah,
sure.
and like to
Yeah.
open up.
And then you start like, but then I also remember in our scene too, you started to see like, I remember when, great example of someone doing something totally different and some songs like that, but more often just like you said, opening up his head. Like I remember that one summer that I'm sure you remember too, when Adam and his package came and played like 30 shows
Hmm.
in the NJPP scene and
Yep.
people's basements and stuff. And it was just like, that was a very inspiring thing to me as well, to be like, this guy's a total weirdo, super funny,
Yeah.
doing his own thing. I always remember watching bands with envy. I always had that fantasy of like, I have all the lyrics memorized and the singer's going to see me singing along and he's going to grab me and pull me on stage and I'm going to get to be on stage. And then I realized after a certain point, oh, I just want to be on stage.
Mm.
It's just I'm not musical. I don't want to even get on stage and sing the song. I want to be the guy who, after the song is over, gets to make some jokes like Dave Weston. And I want to be a comedian. I want to be a comedian.
Interesting.
And then you see people like those bands we named. You see people like Adam, hugely. I look back, really impactful for me when Adam came around. Like really impactful. You
And he was by
see
himself too. He didn't have he didn't
exactly,
have that crew. It's like you can kind of see what formulated for you of this guy's on stage by himself doing his own craft, but it's like I'm maybe not musical, so how do I do the same thing and make a joke?
exactly. And then it becomes, let me try to write the funniest article in my friends' fanzines. Let me try to put out my own fanzine where it has music reviews, sure, and because of that, I can get people to pick it up. But most of the articles are just about dumb shit that I'm seeing as a 16, 17-year-old. And
Were you though like when? Because I remember when I was little. I mean, I was like 8 years old, and I was like, I want to be a comedian. We used to watch Comic Strip Live on Saturday
yeah,
nights, and when I remember watching, there was this one guy who had this comedy special on HBO where he had all of these props. It wasn't Carrot Top. It was the background was a building, and he would pretend to be an ape at some points and drag shit on. Uh,
it
he was
wasn't Gallagher, was it? Gallagher was the
no, it
other
wasn't
big
Gallagher. No,
prop guy. Yeah.
no, he was like the husband in Kindergarten Cop for his partner. I remember this too. It was like
I
Bob
am
something. It was
I
what
am mad I don't remember this.
I fucking videotaped that. Me and my sister used to watch it all the fucking time, and I think that's where same. So my point here is that from when I was young, I always wanted to do comedy because I loved it. I was so like just I was obsessed with that shit. Like, because you mentioned that going to shows kind of pointed you in comedy, but did you find when you were really young, and granted, this doesn't have 100% to do with punk rock, I don't give a fuck. Like, did you find where when you were super young, you used to watch the same stuff?
Well, yeah, very interesting because I would say that punk didn't lead me to comedy. Punk led me to. I'll just never forget, so legitimately never forget realizing at my very first show, I was 13 years old, and I talked with Graham from Felix Rump after the show, and I realized he was only 16 or 17 at the time. And that was the thing where I was like, so punk didn't teach me about comedy or lead me to comedy, but it did teach me to this idea of like, oh, you're allowed to do shit.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I grew up and I was obsessed with Eddie Murphy and I was obsessed with Saturday Night Live back
Hmm.
in our era. Like I think we grew up with Phil Hartman and Chris Farley and Mike Myers and Dana Carvey, like a very good era of SNL.
And like Z100 doing all the prank calls and shit.
Yes, the Morning Zoo.
The morning
Growing up in
zoo.
North
Yeah.
Jersey, like I think a lot of us, as you talked, it's funny. You want to talk about a problematic thing that a lot of us were just raised on. North Jersey, Howard Stern couldn't escape Howard Stern.
Yeah.
David Letterman, massive, massive, massive for me. My older brother loved Letterman. He got me the book of top 10 lists. Like, so I think punk blended, like I had these ambitions to be funny. I was the funny kid. It was my defense mechanism in life, at school, being the funny kid. I mean, dude, like if you saw a picture of me, here's the thing. I was at so many of your shows. You probably don't remember me, but there is a chance that if you saw a picture of me, you'd go, oh, that's the kid who never went through puberty. That's kind of how I was known in the scene. You might be like, oh, that's that kid. Like, you were on a comp that my friend put out, the Exit 6 Records comp, Happy
Yeah.
Little Trees, the Bob Ross one.
Yep.
I used to sit at his merch table selling CDs, and I look back, and I looked like I was about 11 years old, 12 years old when I was 16. Like, that's how I was known. So comedy was this defense mechanism. Punk, I think, showed me, oh, you don't have to wait. You can just go do it. So this actually segues fantastically into the story that because I messaged you and told you there's a story I'm kind of nervous to tell you. You might you might not remember it at all. You might not remember it.
So here's the thing, though. Like, I really want to get the story, and I want to keep talking, and I don't want this to be the thing that stops it, even though this is like the crescendo that you wanted to go with.
Well,
like,
you might get mad at me. You might honestly be like, "Fuck this, fuck you, dude," and hang up on me.
Have you heard any of the fucking episodes that
I did? I went back and listened to a bunch of them. Yeah, I assume you won't give a shit. I also assume you might not remember what the fuck I'm talking about.
Okay, I'm now.
You are
very interested.
Weirdly enough, I will say you and your band are kind of intimately connected to how I became a comedian, and more specifically, I kind of have become known. You know, people who do know my career know, like, I went and did things my own way. I built a TV show on public access that went to cable. It was really fucked up and weird. Very much, I think, embracing the idea of, like, I'm going to go do it myself.
Yeah, the DIY.
But I've always had this kind of, like, love of sort of, like, fucked up experimental comedy.
Okay.
And you're intimately involved in the very foundation of me getting into that.
Okay.
So you can hear I'm slowing down because I'm getting nervous, and I want to tell this the right way.
Trust me, dude. Like I said, like I told the story about how I walked up to Gabe and had to, like, apologize for talking shit about Midtown for a whole tour. So
Listen, Gabe was a divisive figure, a beloved and divisive figure in the very small world of NJPP.
Yeah.
He was a beloved person who there was a lot of people had a target on his back for some reason.
Well, he understood how to make it work to grow into a career.
And he was also tall and beautiful and had a brilliant smile.
He was a charismatic motherfucker. And
yes.
He was also very just, like, upfront of, this is, he was a presence.
And unapologetic. And a lot of people probably there's some elements of maybe jealousy.
I hated it. I totally hated it. After he left Humble, I was like, fuck this guy. And it obviously came through.
Which is so silly looking back on it. Well, thank you. Yeah. Thank you for doing me a very smooth way of you exposing a regrettable interaction of your own to make me feel comfortable with mine with you.
Absolutely.
So we're listing my influences. Now, the biggest one by far was Andy Kaufman. Loved Andy. I loved pro wrestling as a kid, really loved pro wrestling. And when I saw, Comedy Central used to play this documentary about him going into Memphis and wrestling Jerry Lawler.
Yep, the girls and all that.
Yeah, I'm from Hollywood, it's called. And holy shit, it was just the nexus point. Like, he was a guy who was constantly on David Letterman. He went and actually wrestled, and it made me just become obsessed with him. And I became a tape collector when I was still in high school. I was constantly trying to find, like, I think we all, you and I are of an age to remember, like, there was no YouTube. There wasn't stuff being uploaded. Like, if you liked stuff, you had to go find it. There were certain movies that were not on TV anymore, and you had to go find the VHS tape. Very often you had to go to a video store or drugstore that had it and steal it if you wanted to own it. And there was, like, all this stuff. So anyway, I get to Rutgers. I fall into a massive, massive, massive depression. I'm still obsessed with Andy Kaufman. Kind of just sort of, like, talking to very few people. Going online a lot, looking for Andy Kaufman tapes. Now, do you remember a thing called Usenet?
Usenet? No.
Usenet was in the early internet days. kind of before the World Wide Web and as the World Wide Web developed, Usenet were these extremely unregulated message boards that you could find. It was, you know, I was an early internet kid going on like BBS systems, and I'm of the exact age that it was kind of like the internet did not exist until I was in about 7th, 8th grade. And young people were the ones who could kind of figure it out. Like I knew how to find shit on the internet, and my parents would have been flabbergasted to know that it existed, and I was experiencing it, like all of us, bad shit with the internet. But Usenet was this place that had all these groups, and some of these message boards were very, kind of, I think, like 4chan and some of the darker corners of Reddit are like the sort of spiritual successors today. Like you could find weird shit, but you could also find kind of anything. And there was an Andy Kaufman Usenet group. And there was really only back then one website about Andy Kaufman. This was how small the internet was back in 1997, 98, 99. So there weren't many people talking about him. But I found a community of people trading tapes. Andy Kaufman. alt.usenet.Andy Kaufman was how you found the Usenet group. And I would go on there all the time, and I would see what people were saying, tapes they were trading, stories they had about Andy Kaufman, because he was even more mysterious and legendary than he was. This was before Man on the Moon came out. So he was still, he had died and his legend had kind of gone away, but it was still a very underground thing. It wasn't a popular thing to talk about. So
I'm just gonna be very silent, by the way. So I'm not gonna do yes and stuff, because I want you to just. So if I'm silent, don't make that throw you.
I also wonder, is there any, as I'm telling you that I was a fan of this notoriously antagonistic comedian and that I was diving deep into the internet, is there any part of you that is hazarding a guess as to what I'm building to? Because I don't know if I'm more scared of you being mad or more scared of you going, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, and this being a complete waste of your time. Is there any?
No, this is definitely not a waste of time. I already think that. So the 26 minutes into this are just great.
Good. Okay.
So,
good.
What I'm guessing, and I love it, people who are listening are like, shut the fuck up and let them tell a story. It's like, you hold on there, listener. All I can think of is it's because and now, is this specifically directed at like our band, or was it like
yes
it was like the story is legit like Lane Meyer that you did this to us?
You are very involved in what I'm about to say, and I am giggling about it, and I have also been deeply ashamed of it for 20 years.
So all I can think of, and nothing's popping in mind, like I remember now, what does it, yeah, all I can think of, and I'll like let you get back to it, like, is we were playing and something happened. That's what I can think of. So, and we had a couple times where we were playing shows in like Binghamton, and there was like, it was like us and iFarm, and some girl got up and interrupted us, and she was like, fucking, where's iFarm? And we're like, shut the fuck up.
Well, I was not involved in that. That girl was not sent. She was not a proxy sent by me to fuck with you.
There were like people that would fuck with us on stage. Okay, so go on, tell the story.
So I'm in this message board one day, and I click on this really bizarre post, and it leads me to a website that was really strange. But I think between my love of Andy Kaufman and how fucked up my head was, I immediately was like, oh, okay, whoever's making this is really fucked up and really strange, but also really funny, and I get it. And it was this website that had one picture on it of a random person, and it presupposed that this person was very famous and internationally known, like a pop star level celebrity, and they were not. And it listed all these sightings of the person, and it invited people to email in if they had any sightings of this famous celebrity, who clearly from the picture was not a celebrity. And it only referred to this person by one nickname. And this nickname may mean something to you, it may mean nothing to you. But the nickname was SOMEKID.
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 Okay.
This is not ringing a bell for you, so I'll continue.
I think I'm starting to remember something, but go on.
Okay, so clearly no one was interacting with this human. It was an Angel Fire website. So I saw it and I was like, that's so funny to make up a celebrity and go on message boards and spread it in the internet. Like it very much clicked with the part of me that loved Andy Kaufman. So I just started, the guy had his IM handle on. I started IMing the guy. Hey man, I live in New Jersey. I saw some kid at the Woodbridge Mall. They had to call the cops because all these teenage girls started flocking to him. And the guy wouldn't even answer me. But then I'd go on his website the next day and he'd say, oh, we got some kid sighting out of New Jersey. So I started just trying to come up with these funny scenarios. Oh, I ran into some kid up at Rutt's Hut in Clifton, and he had to climb a fence and run along the river to get away because so many people like this and that. And he'd always put them up. And then we started IMing. And it's a very, very long and involved and bizarre story about a person who I'm friends with to this day, 20 years later. I'm still friends with the kid who ran this website. I've only hung out with him in person less than half a dozen times. It turned out that he was a 16-year-old kid who lived in Hawaii. And he was very much in the same headspace I was. He's from a military family, and his mom and his stepdad wound up moving to a military base in Hawaii where there were literally no other kids. There was a 9 or 10-year-old boy who lived next door to him who used to skateboard. And this kid was pretty big skater. My friend CT, I'm outing us. I feel scared outing us. And this little kid used to just like fucking bully him, like call him names. And he was like, I'm 16, you're 10. We only have each other. Why are you messing with? So we were just these two depressed kids. And this led to us kind of, today you would call it trolling. Today you would say we went and trolled people on the internet. I will say that back then it was an expression of creativity. We'd just kind of link up online and we would go and we would torment people. And this took on many forms. It led to us eventually running a website together that no one looked at, where we'd just do these comedy pieces that were very in the Andy Kaufman vein. There'd be articles, there'd be stunts. And I'm telling you, a lot of really bizarre situations that I got into with this guy. Now, one of these situations was that we used to have this kind of running thing where he would go, look, I'm really isolated in Hawaii, but you're in New Jersey. You're at college. You're part of this punk community where you go to shows. And we kind of had this running game where he would go, I'm going to do things from Hawaii and see how much trouble I can cause in New Jersey. So he would do these things online and tell me, oh, go to this place at this time and check out the chaos I have caused. And one thing that you may remember is that most bands' websites in the North Jersey scene, it was just the time we were of. There was no Facebook. This would be before MySpace, Bandcamp, obviously. There was no way to interact with bands, except most bands on their website would have a guest book, if you remember this.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And guest books, you could leave random comments.
I think that's where I think I know where this is going.
And there was a few months around 99 or 2000 where he would incessantly, he said, okay, these bands, you're going to shows, because we'd talk on the phone and we'd talk on IM all the time. I'm telling you, I was so depressed. I would sit on my computer all the time and just for hours be consumed with conversations and these weird kind of internet explorations with this kid in Hawaii. And then sometimes I'd go, my old friends, like my buddy Pete, who ran Exit 6, he was still at Rutgers. He'd be like, come on, we're going to go see a show. So I'd cut off the skit. I'm going to go see this show tonight. Oh, what do you mean a show? Oh, yeah, I go and see punk rock bands. It's a thing I've been doing for years. And he would say, let me know the names of all the bands that you're going to see. And he started going on guest books and leaving comments under the name SOMEKID.
I think I do remember this.
And most bands just ignored it, dude. I'll tell you, most bands ignored it. And he'd go on and he'd say these like sort of like just shitty inflammatory things. And he'd say to me, he'd be like, again, like very, very hard. Like if you remember, Yahoo then was not even a search engine. It was kind of just, they would put up a directory of websites. Like it's hard to find out stuff. So he'd go, okay, so I'm seeing that this band Humble Beginnings plays a ton of the shows. And I'd be like, yeah, they're kind of like they're kind of like the big dogs of the scene. Go, okay, and it seems like this band is friends with them, and they play a lot of shows with this band. And he would go on, and he'd go, okay, so what's the deal with Humble Beginnings? And I'd go, like we were saying, I'd go, well, the guy who's kind of like the everybody's infatuated with this guy Gabe, like all the girls have crushes on him, and he's really talented, and he does a lot for all of us. But there's also a lot of people who are maybe kind of like bitter. And he'd go on and be like, Gabe, you pretty boy, I don't care how many girls like you. And he'd just leave these comments to try to bait people. And for some reason, I don't know if it was you or another member of your band, Lane Meyer went to war with SOMEKID.
I remember this completely. Like, not like very focused, but I remember us going ape shit on our message board trying to figure out, like, it's starting to get more clear.
I will say it hit a pitch where it actually got scary for me because he was leaving. It was the classic troll thing of, now we all know, don't feed the trolls, right? Like if somebody's fucking with you online, walk away because it only gets worse. Back then, the internet wasn't a part of our culture, and you guys went to war with him, and he started doubling down. Yeah. And then he'd ask me for information about your shows, and he'd be like, what's the most recent Lane Meyer show you've been to? And whatever it was, I'd be like, oh, I saw them at Skaters World in Wayne or whatever. And he'd be like, how was the show? And I'd be like, oh, it was good, but the PA was shitty. And then he'd go on, and that's just a random example. This is not a quote. So I'd tell him something like that, and then he'd go on Your Guest Book and be like, hey, dudes, I was at that fucking show at Skaters World, and the reason the PA kept shutting off is because your music is so fucking horrible that the PA itself came to life and said, fuck this shit, and sacrificed itself so the crowd wouldn't have to listen to that shit. And then not just, I don't even know if it was the band after a certain point, but the other members of the NJPP scene came to your defense, obviously, because it was very tight knit. And there were people on your message board going, dude, we're going to fucking beat the shit out of you. If we ever find you, we're going to beat the shit out of you. And then my buddies started going, here's where it got really fucked up, man. So then my buddies started going, if he was like, okay, Friday night, I'm going to be home and we're going to do this, this, and this. And we started planning one of these things. And I went, oh shit, actually Friday, I'm going to see a show. He started to realize that. So then he starts going, what's the next Lane Meyer show you're going to see? And there was one, I fucking wish I could remember the location. It was somewhere way farther north in Jersey than I used to go. It was in this place that had a big, massive parking lot and a lot of land, like a lot of grass, really beautiful place. I forget where it was, but there was a show where my buddy started going on Your Guest Book, and he started going, all right, so you guys are all looking for me. I'm telling you, I'm going to be at this show on this date. And if you're all talking shit, we all know, though, that I'm SOMEKID. I'm famous. You can't fuck with me. So I'll be there. And he'd leave links to this website that had a picture. Now, the picture was legitimately, he went to the local library in Hawaii, and he realized that the local library had all the yearbooks from the local high school. They kept all the yearbooks archived. And he was just a very creative oddball kid. He actually would have fit in so well with the punk scene. If he didn't live in total isolation in Hawaii, he and I would have hung out all the time. He would have been doing comedy with me. We would have been going to shows. It totally spoke to him. He was just so bored and isolated. So he used to go through the yearbooks of his local high school and just kind of look at all these kids. And he just randomly found this picture of a chubby kid with frosted tips. And he just scanned it, and that was SOMEKID. He was just some kid he was a chubby boy with frosted tips who had graduated from a Hawaiian high school in around 1994, 95. And he would say, here's what I look like. And he would leave the picture. I don't know if you could put pictures on guest books or if he'd just leave a link to the website. This is what, and then people would get on and be like, you're the most easy to identify. You're going to show up. You're fucking obese, frosted tip motherfucker. Is that what you look like today? he'd be like, "Yep, I haven't lost any weight. My tips are more I just got them freshly frosted. You motherfuckers,
Oh my
come find me." And that one show I went to, and I don't know, I might be overblowing it in my memory, but people were talking about it in the crowd. Is he here? Where's some kid? If I remember right, it was mentioned on mic. I don't. In my memory, it was you guys at one point before, in the middle of your show, said something along the lines of like, "It looks like some kid didn't have the balls to show."
wow.
And I am standing there, and I am this like little 19-year-old, tiny, like 120, maybe 130 pounds at the time, just terrified in the back, going, "What have I done? What have I done? If anyone realizes that this was me, I'm gonna get killed. I'm gonna get killed." And I remember the moment when I realized to my friend that we had to bail was, so I was from West Orange and I was at Rutgers, and I had befriended a bunch of punk kids who all went to West Essex High, which is North Caldwell and Fairfield and a few other towns. And that's how I got to know Derek from Shorty. He eventually wound up at Rutgers. We lived together, but he was going to UMass at the time. But my buddies who I met in the punk scene at Rutgers, they were all friends with Shorty because Shorty came up at West Essex High. And I used to hang out at his house, like winter breaks and summer breaks. We were all friends, and I'd cross-pollinated with these kids. So all the West Orange kids and the West Essex kids, we used to hang out. And I was at Derek's house, Derek from Shorty, one day, and all the members of Shorty were there. And in his house, they were like expressing concern. They were like, "This fucking kid, some kid, he needs to stop. He's going to get himself hurt, man."
Wow.
Like, who's some kid? Like, they were sitting there talking about it. Like, random friends of mine on some random night were like, "Dude, this some kid situation is getting bad. Like, it's getting bad. Like, somebody's going to get hurt. This is bad." And I had to message my friend in Hawaii and be like, "Dude, we have taken this past the limit. We are officially at a point where if anyone finds out that I am involved in this, I think I'm in actual danger." Like, I think, it hit a point where, from what I remember, you guys in the band, I think, were very annoyed, but because you were funny guys, and that's the thing, I always thought your band was funny. I think you were having some fun volleying back. But then what happens, as it does in any small insular scene, is the people who were all about like, "Yo, protect the scene," or people who wanted to score brownie points with you guys, brownie points with some of the actual bands, were coming on there going, "No, fuck this shit. I'm going to break this motherfucker's ribs." And I'm sitting there reading that, now begging my friend in Hawaii, "Dude, we got to deep six this right now, because I'm going to get curb stomped. If anyone somehow finds out that I am one half of this some kid experiment, I'm going to get my teeth kicked in, man." And that is the story that I've been feeling very guilty about. I'm very nervous to tell you for 2 decades.
That is hilarious, dude. Like, okay, first of all, and real quick technical, there's like are you on a chair? That's like, it's creaking. There's some kind of creaking thing.
This is the truth. I'm going to sit back down. I have hardwood floors.
Oh, okay.
And I've been pacing because I'm so nervous to tell you that story. I'm pacing on hardwood floors because I'm nervous. That's what that annoying audio was. I apologize to the listener.
Oh, it's still fun. No, okay. So first of all, I do remember this now. And actually, I just text Barker and I text Sean. I go, "Do you guys remember some kid?" And I was like, "Do you remember the dude who used to troll us called Some Kid?" And Chris goes, "Troll as in bad." I said, "Yeah." He goes, "No, why?" Vaguely. And I said, "He used to leave awful comments in our guest book." He goes, "Yeah, what happened to him?" I go, "I'm interviewing him, technically not, part of him." I go, "Right now." He goes, "That's awesome." I go, "It's amazing." He goes, "Make him grovel."
Yes.
He goes, and I said, "Do you remember me?" He goes, "I do." I said, "It's hilarious." And he goes, "Can you bridge me in and I'll MF him?" I don't know.
Please do. I deserve it.
I'd say no. It's actually a great story. I think it's hilarious. I remember. Okay, so this was at the time where, and first of all, like I think it's hilarious. So I mean,
Okay.
What do you? Okay, so in this moment, like, how do you feel that you finally just let that story go?
Well, I did always feel guilty because you were good guys and I liked your band. And in the lead up to talking to you, that's another thing that I'm interested from your end is like trying to figure out why you guys were just the ones that randomly bit and went for it.
So, okay, go on.
Because that's how I feel. I will say there is a part of me that actually feels like my relationship with this dude was immensely creative and extraordinarily meaningful to me. And like I said, I think the earliest attempts I had at doing comedy of any sort and doing sort of like comedy that had a little bit of like an experimental, non-traditional feel. And that's always lasted through my whole career. I do a lot of stand-up that's traditional, but anybody who knows me knows I've also done a lot of like very experimental stuff. So there's a part of me that's really proud of it. And a part of me looks back and goes, wow, I was like 18, 19 years old doing this stuff that was really creative, but I really regret how antagonistic I was. I think that is sort of like the young, angry punk in me, the insecure kid that has to be sort of mean. I regret that. And then, like I said, you guys were nice guys and I liked your band. So I always felt bad. Like there are other bands from our scene that I will, like, just to put it out there, nice guys. And I'm Facebook friends with Tom, but back then, like if it was Bigwig, they would
he would have killed you. He would have fucking.
I mean, first of all, their fans would have they would have been tracking my IP address, and I would have been a dead man.
Yeah.
But that band took themselves so seriously that it would have been more fun to fuck with them. Only in that sense. Not saying those guys deserved someone being annoying, but like they took themselves really seriously. It would have made more sense to fuck with them. You guys were a fun band and a funny band.
So okay, I think that I can, and I was hoping that I'm glad it didn't go this way. I was hoping that after you told that story, I'd have nothing to talk about. I have so many questions now, so this is great. Okay, so one, I think so was that like the first like atom bomb thing you did that doing in the Andy Kaufman, because you're 16, how old are you at this time? 16?
I'm 18.
Okay, you're 18 this time. You love Andy Kaufman. You're obsessing over him. You're doing all this research on what he did, and you're going, and all of a sudden something clicks in your brain where you're like, I'm officially going to start doing some stuff. Was this the first thing you'd ever done, or had you done little things up to this? And then the atom bomb statement was this like where it turned on you? Was this the only thing to finally like go, oh shit, this is becoming out of my control?
So I had always been the funny kid in school. Like I said, like older friends of mine had put out fanzines and they were funny. So then I put out a funny fanzine. When I was a senior in high school, I had a teacher who thought I was very funny, and she kind of ran like the group that went to acting competitions, and she had me do like some improv there. I was in the school plays and I would get the funny parts. So I knew that I wanted to be funny. I also know that me doing like the High School Musical, I was like, this is lame. This is very lame. This is not, but that was the only type of thing I knew how to do. So I had dabbled a little bit. I also will say I went to Rutgers, and before I committed to any college, I made sure they had an improv group, because now every school has an improv group. Improv is a very like blown out thing. But in 1998, it was hard to find. So I went and I auditioned for their improv group and I got rejected hard. I got kicked out. Like they were like, no, thank you. You're just weird. No, thanks. So I had really had a lot of ambition to find ways to do comedy. I had dabbled in high school. There had been a little encouragement from just one teacher at West Orange High, which is a fine school, but kind of a bad school. So it wasn't a place where you kind of felt encouraged as an artsy kid. So I was like, this needs to be my thing. I need to find ways to do comedy. And then the one way at Rutgers that I could, it got smacked down. So I think that's why I so obsessively went after this as an expression of creativity.
I love it.
And then, yes, it was the experience with your guest book.
But was it the first one though? Because I know you said you were a teacher in comedy. Was the first like troll thing you did, even on a small scale?
Yes.
Wow,
This Some Kid thing was the first Kaufman-esque thing I ever did. It was really exciting to find this other person where you can imagine me being of that mindset, finding this website and being like, oh, this guy's inventing a fake celebrity. This feels cool. It's very, very rudimentary. But again, to anyone who remembers the internet in 1998, there was not that much stuff out there like this to find. And it was the very first thing I did that is still reflected in my comedy today. But it got really antagonistic with you guys. And it was a major lesson in like, oh, you can push this stuff past a tipping point that is supremely fascinating, but not okay. Not okay. I have created bad feelings and I have put myself in a spot where I don't feel totally safe. Absolutely.
So I think it's hilarious. Again, you reaching out. I mean, I had not heard of your comedy or anything like that, and now
Fair.
it's like even like again, like Pete Holmes. I just learned about him because he was interviewed on, I think it was like Kyle Cease or something, like with his podcast, or I forget what it was. But everything leads down, and then you look back, and there's this giant back catalog, and you're like, wow, there's a lot. Like it's crazy to me that I do remember this, and I want to talk about it more. But where that led you, and not saying that was it, but it opened your eyes. That's maybe at some point being like, okay, cool, like I can do this thing. It's giving me permission. I can do these things. Maybe not on this grand level where people want to kill me, but it's like going on your IMDb. It's like you've done some really cool shit. Like you're sitting next to Conan and stuff, and I'm like, wow, it's crazy that your first time doing something like that, and like you're like, I'm gonna stick with it, and then you went down this path.
It was tormenting you. The first thing I did that got any attention comedically.
You're welcome.
Was tormenting you, yes. But it's, dude, because I'll tell you too, like, so I eventually did get into that Rutgers improv group my sophomore year. And I was still very much in touch with my friend CT. And at performing comedy, dude, it made me so happy. It finally felt like I found my thing. Like, I never played guitar. I played cello as a kid, so I tried to play bass, and I just was never, it wasn't my thing. And all of a sudden, when I would get on a comedy stage, I was like, this is my version of it. I knew it. So that summer, I didn't want to stop just because school was out. Because I was so depressed, and it made me happy. So I started taking classes at a place called the Upright Citizens Brigade in Manhattan.
Oh, wow.
And this was in 2000. And if any comedy fans are listening, like, like the UCB theater became the explosion of comedic talent in the United States.
That is like that and the Growlings in Chicago are like.
Well, Second City, the Groundlings. Yeah. Like there's a few institutions, and I got there in 2000. Like it was I got in my desire to do comedy. I wound up showing up at UCB like 4 or 5 years before it exploded. I was in on the ground floor, and it fueled my whole career. And my whole plan, really no one knows this. The whole plan, when I found it, I would message this kid in Hawaii. And I think at this point he had moved to North Carolina. He'd grown up in North Carolina. He moved back there when he turned 18, and he was allowed to, as an adult, kind of do what he wanted. And our whole plan, I was like, dude, I found this place, and it's really good. And a lot of the people there are doing some other fucked up, aggressive shit. I'm going to go, I'm going to get in. And in a couple of years, when you're old enough and you got enough money, you'll move to New York and we'll be a comedy team. And that was my original plan with comedy. My original plan with comedy was to be an outright duo with the kid I did SOMEKID with.
Wow. And
due to a number of life circumstances for both of us, it just didn't happen. I wound up just diving deep into the comedy, and in a way that I'm not going to tell his story, but he kind of remained isolated in a way that I had been. And he just wound up needing to kind of figure out a bunch more life stuff. So he never made the move. And it was kind of it's always been this very, very fascinating thing for me that no one who knows my work really knows, which is that there was this other kid who was the other piece of the puzzle in my earliest days. And we just kind of broke off, and like I dove in completely, and he never got the chance to. And we still touch base. I actually just this past year did some shows in North Carolina, and he came and met up. We hung out for the day. And like I said, I think it was maybe the fourth or fifth time we've actually hung out in person in 20 years of friendship.
Wait, where in North Carolina did you perform?
This summer I performed in Wilmington and Durham, and then I went down to Charleston, and that was my Carolina shows.
Fuck, dude. I live in Raleigh.
Oh yeah, well I did a Motorco Music Hall this summer.
Are you gonna come back?
I would love to, man. I sold it out, and that crowd was so nice. And
What? Yeah, dude.
yeah,
If you come back, I have to see you so I can punch you in the face. No, I was kidding. No.
believe me, I will. I will comp you. Believe me, tickets on me, man, because I owe you that for
That'd be
sure.
amazing. I know I'd probably just pick your brain about comedy because I'm so enthralled. But how did you guys like? How did it stop?
It stopped. I'll give you the very honest answer, which is that when I found comedy in New York, I was kind of acutely aware. Okay, this is my shot. This is my shot. Like it has. It is not my comparison, but a lot of press has compared that era of UCB to kind of being like a CBGB's of comedy,
Yeah.
in the sense that you look back and realize CB's, it was like, oh, you could go see a bill with the Ramones, Talking Heads, and Blondie on the same fucking bill. And that happened often. Like that wasn't a rare occurrence. Holy shit, man. Like all those bands, you look back, I mean, you name a name in American comedy and they probably went through UCB. So I knew, I was aware, I was like, it hadn't led to anybody's success yet, but I was like, man, I got to go all in on this because I can feel that this is my shot. So I kind of dove in completely and I was less depressed
Wow.
and I was spending less time on the internet. So he and I would still touch base regularly, but this idea that we would kind of spend hours trolling people or hours kind of finding these hidden corners of the web to kind of execute these projects, like that went by the wayside. And then I think also he's a really fascinating dude. He has his own fascinating story, and I will tell you again. I don't want to tell his story for him, but he wound up falling on some difficult times in the same way that I did. Like I said, I had some really difficult times to push through. Part of why we were friends, I think, was because we shared that. And I think he kind of needed to step back and deal with his real life stuff. And then my real life stuff became diving into comedy. So there was actually a stretch with this friend where I didn't hear from him for probably 4 or 5 years and tried desperately to track him down. And for a couple of years there, I assumed that he was dead. And then he resurfaced.
Jesus.
So there's been a lot of twists and turns to my story with this young man. And I'm very, very glad that he and I are still friends and that we still touch base. A few times a year, we'll just text, touch base. When I'm in North Carolina, figure it out. He comes up to New York once every few years, and we always make an effort to hang out. But yeah, I thought he was dead for a while. So it we just kind of really, in that way, before there was social media and before all of us had phones, you could really lose track of a person, and he and I lost track of each other.
Did you guys ever talk when you were doing this? Before it, obviously, you were like, "Yo, we have to stop. These guys are gonna kill us." Like,
Yeah.
were you guys was there one of you going, "This is the greatest fucking thing right now"?
Oh, the both of us thought it was the most amazing thing in the world as fans of Andy Kaufman. So, dude, so what would happen is he would spend all week tormenting you, and then he and I would IM about it. And I wish I remembered names, but we'd go, okay, this one person's really mad. This one Lane Meyer fan is furious with us. And then I'd go to the show that weekend.
Wow.
And I'd know who these people were because, like I said, I was on the fringe of the scene. I was a pretty quiet, shy kid, but I was at tons of shows. If your show was in Essex County or, Passaic County, I was probably at it. Like, if there was a show with a decent bill anywhere between fucking, Booton and the fucking Cheesequake venue, like, I was probably at it. So I knew who all the people were in the same way that we all know each other's names. Like, I'm sure you and I could just spend the whole time, like, referencing certain people and going, yep, of course I knew that kid,
Yeah.
Like, of course I knew who that was. Like, Indie Rock Jim from South Orange, of course I knew who Indie Rock Jim was, like, the dudes from this band, the dudes from that, of course I knew who that was. So I knew who all these people were posting on the message board. So long story short, he would fuck with you guys all week and we'd see who got most riled up. And then I'd go to the show and I'd stand right next to that person.
Oh my
And then I'd call him that night. And that was kind of the game. It was just for the two of us to amuse each other.
Wow.
No one was following our shit. Like this early comedy stuff that I'm saying, we had a website where I'm telling you, there were maybe half a dozen people that looked at it. It was like my brother, this kid he grew up with in North Carolina, and like 3 random weirdos that even knew about it. It was just for me and him to make each other laugh. So he'd get someone really riled up. I'd go to the show. I'd stand next to that person. Or if they were working your merch table, I'd walk up and go, hey, how much is this pin? And I'd have a conversation with them.
Wow.
And then that night, I'd get back to my dorm room. I mean, this was still landlines. This was before cell phones. I'd get back to my dorm room. I'd pick up the phone. I'd call him in Hawaii. I'd go, dude, I fucking talked to the guy face to face. So it was this kind of cat and mouse game that you guys didn't know we were playing.
This
Where
is
it was
so fucking crazy. It's
it,
amazing.
it was him going, in Hawaii, how mad can I get these people? And then how close to it can you get to report back on how real it was?
That must have been a fucking rush.
It was wild. It was really wild. And after, I will say after it went past the boiling point with you guys, he and I wound up making a website that was a lot more sort of spread out and fruitfully creative and less about just tormenting one individual group of people and more about kind of like trying a whole bunch of different stuff. And no one knew about it. But I look back and I'm like, it's oddly enough some stuff that I'm still really proud of.
Did you ever utilize any of the like lines that you guys came up with, or just like a part of a conversation and took pieces out of that and put that into your act?
No lines. But what I will say is that I think, like you said, like I've done some stuff. I'm still a pretty unknown underground guy. The first thing that I kind of became known for on a national level was the Chris Gethard show, which was a talk show I did. And we went to public access television. And the punk scene was really the ones that embraced it the most. Dude, I'm telling you, you would be so happy if you went back and looked at the archives of my show on public access. We would have musical guests every week, and they were all punk bands, and a lot of them were Jersey bands. Like I had Adam and his Package come back and play my show in 2017 or 2018. Like I had Adam. That was when my show was on national TV. It was on True TV. I got Adam, and that meant the world to me. I had Adam and his Package play on real fucking TV in 2018 because in my mind, I'm like, Adam's one of the most creative acts that ever lived. And sure, he was known on the East Coast.
He's in Florida, right?
Well, he's in Philly, I think.
Okay.
Still in Philly. But like, yeah, MRR, Maximum Rock and Roll, wouldn't cover his shit because he wasn't punk enough. So he was known nationally, but I put him on TV. Like, if you know the Ergs, who were kind of after our time, after our scene, I had the Ergs on national TV. Like, it was a lot of Jersey bands that I would put on my show. So it was really in there. To answer your question, since I'm rambling, what I did take away from those days was, in that show in particular, I was really good at getting the crowd riled up, really good at kind of emotionally manipulating the audience, kind of surfing the line of getting people kind of upset and mad and being able to kind of make a game out of like getting people sort of riled up in a direction that wasn't comedy focused and then looping it back around to the comedy, which is all Andy Kaufman. He loved making people mad or making people overwhelmed or making people confused and then getting the comedy to kind of sneak up and hit them from behind. And with the Gethard show in particular, I think I got very good at that, of kind of making people experience some emotions and manipulating those emotions. So they sort of forgot that it was comedy and then putting the comedy back into it. And yes, I can say that my first forays into figuring out how that worked were by getting the members of Lanemeyer very, very mad for a few months on their internet guest book.
This makes me so happy.
Good. I was hoping you would say that.
I mean, it's 20 years past the fact. I'm guaranteeing if this was at that time, and I'm gonna actually just break that. Are you good at still talking? Are you have to get it?
Yeah, I got a little while more. Yeah.
Because I want to break down like probably why and we got so pissed off. But I think if it was back then, um, by how emotional we were just in feedback, I think we probably, I mean, we were not physical people. Like me and Chris like probably fought each other more physically in the band just because I was constantly, we were just frustrated with each other. But I think outside of that, we never, I don't really like, some of our friends actually probably would have gotten aggressive and probably threw down for us.
Yes, I got that sense.
Yeah, because I have a feeling like the people involved in the message board. Because I remember this. I remember being at Sean's house. Like Sean's house was like HQ. So Sean lived in Fairlawn, and if anyone goes to the Lane Meyer Instagram account, there's actually a video in there where me and him are driving. We last summer when we played that reunion show, we parked in front of his old house and took video of it. We're like, there's the roof where we used to hang out. There's his room. It was crazy. And I'm like remembering his computer was in it. He had the whole upstairs. So he had two bedrooms. He had his main bedroom, and the other bedroom was where like Casey stayed when he was living in Jersey. And the computer was in there, and that's like the computer where we would respond to anything. And in Ricky's interview, I remember talking to him about like how just shitty we were to him on like the forums and guest because we were like mad at him for some fucking stupid reason. But that's where we would reply, and I think we would all be at Sean's like drinking 40s or some whatever shit beer, and we would be responding to this, or our friends would be over, like my buddy Price or Woosley. I think Heiner, he was really great with like really nasty responses. I think I remember them, and Chris used to love responding to that shit because he just loves, like, he's a lyricist. He's also just very good with words. And I think he took that as like almost like a poetic way to, like, what's the, like a creative outlet almost in like the responses that he would have. Because I think he did the most responding out of our band, if you remember that.
See, I wish I could remember the individuals.
I think he was affected the most.
20 years on, all I remember is we pissed some people off on your guest book. That's the extent of what I really remember. And I remember it getting to a point where I was at real life shows and knew I have to take this with me to my grave. Or 20 years later, talk about it on a podcast, which is a medium that does not exist in 1999.
Yeah, we were just really sensitive people. Like it goes to show in like the past interviews I've done where we went around town and we were upset and jealous of Midtown, so we would talk shit, and it kicked us in the ass. Where I had to like own up to it and go talk to them, and be like, "Hey guys, sorry, we were just being jealous dicks." And if anyone had negative, like even that show or that iFarm one I talked about, where that girl got on stage and she's like, where the fuck is iFarm? When someone would like take away from what we were trying to do, we got really protective for whatever. Even to this day, like I'm not great at negative feedback, and I'm very aware of it. Where I try to like, I'm like, okay, let me hone this in before I go fucking ape shit. And I think there's something about putting something out there creatively. Like, have you ever done a skit or been on stage? I'm sure you've been on stage where people just started heckling you.
Oh, it's the worst. And as a comedian, you just kind of have to. I feel like in your first handful of years doing comedy, especially doing stand-up, half of the skill is writing the jokes and half of the skill is learning how to have a thick enough skin to just endure absolutely brutal failure and judgment from crowds.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
And it's like, I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of comedians have depression, or I think just in general, the magnet to that industry are people who are somewhat depressed or kind of self-deprecating, and they need that outlet to just say, I need to put this back in front of other people because I can't hold on to it myself. But when you're up there and you do get that shit thrown at you, it like really hurts.
Yeah,
and
it really can.
Yeah, and I think that because you're creating something from scratch, and when you put that in front of people, like if it's music, if it's comedy, if it's a zine, if it's anything, you see all the time and the effort and the struggle, and then when you put it in front of someone, it's like a minute or a couple minutes on stage or however long it is. People just you're like, and people just react negatively. You're like, you don't see all the things that brought us to put this in front of you, and they're just kind of saying like, it's like you almost like you built the ship and everyone's like, okay, I can captain this now. You're like, fuck you.
Yeah, I have, it's funny you talk about like feuding with Midtown, because I've just learned like, I think comedians can be a very shit talky community as well, especially, you get people kind of in the back of a show sitting around a table and the shit talk can fly. And I've just always committed to like, I just never do it. I'll let my wife know if there's somebody that's really bothering me, or I find particularly offensive to my sensibilities, but it's just kind of like, I've hit a point where I'm like, anyone who pays their rent through their art, anyone who's getting health insurance through art, God bless them, more power to them. And I can't be part of just slinging mud, because I know how much it hurts to have it slung in my direction.
Yeah.
So I just try to flee in the other direction of, maybe if I never throw that boomerang out into the fray, it will never swing back in my direction. And it still does.
Yeah, and it's just like that's the whole part of art. It comes with the territory. You have to figure out how to have thick skin. Like with this podcast, I have yet to have someone leave a real shit review or something, and I'm so just like fearful of it because I know it's gonna come, and I just know how mad I'm gonna get because of the amount of time I'm putting into this, and it's not paying anything. It's like this is just a pure passion project, right? And when someone has that negative effect on something, you are just like, fuck you. And I mean, 100% that's what we were back then. I mean, granted, I mean, we were also young kids. Like, we didn't know how to fucking react to this. I think now, if I was dealing with something like that, I'd be pretty pissed too.
Yeah,
But
it got
it
addressed.
was pretty brutal. But as the fact that it was because I can see this clearly now. The fact that you guys did it from an art perspective, which I'm sure there was joy out of it too, of going, wow, we're fucking getting away with this, until it got scary of going, okay, we're gonna die. And he was safe the whole time. Like no one was getting on a plane and going to fucking Hawaii. But the fact that it came from a place of how can we do this instead of being like, hey, you know what? We're just assholes. We're just gonna do this because we are like that shit kid in high school who just has a shit life and just beats people up. There was actually an art form to it, from what I can look back now and be like appreciate and be like that's pretty amazing. Um, but like even from our standpoint, like when Chris left the band, he went and did Day at the Fair, and we one time I talked about this in another episode. We had heard that Sean had called him, Sean, our drummer from Lanemeyer, he had called Chris and left this really just like pissed off voicemail because Sean was just like, fuck this. I'm like, don't do it, dude. It's just like down that, once you put it on the table and show someone you're pissed, they got you by the fucking balls. And Sean did that. And then we were at a show at Wayne and someone said, hey, have you heard the ending to the Day at the Fair demo? And we said no. And Chris put that recording onto the end.
Ooh.
And we sat there and listened to it. And I just looked at Sean, and I'm seeing Sean in real time just go from, happy-go-lucky to like, I'm going to start walking to Lake Apacon because I'm going to fucking murder this guy. Where I had to calm him down. So like, we were not innocent in any. We were just, I'm saying, like we were not innocent people by any standpoint, any standards, but we are also very sensitive people. So to have you guys do this to us, that answers your question of like, wow, these guys are really taking offense to this.
Because I do remember, if I remember correctly, like we cast the net pretty far and wide. There were a bunch of bands that we tormented, and it very quickly became, no, let's just focus on Lanemeyer.
Because we gave you the fuel. Again, it was like Sean calling and leaving that voicemail. It's as soon as you respond, they've got you by the balls. 100%.
Yeah, it was. But then you guys had me by the balls because I had to call a kid who lived, in the middle of an ocean 5,000 miles away and go, oh, we gotta, please. I have now had that conversation with the kids from Shorty. I look back and it's so funny because there were like 5 of us in the room discussing it, where I'm like, no, dude, this is now built to a point where I've had actual personal conversations, like looking people in the eye, personal conversations where people have asked me, who do you think SOMEKID is? Like, we've mission accomplished. Like, anything we wanted to experiment with this, we're over the finish line, and we gotta pack it up and go home because these are small conversations happening in friends' homes now. I can't imagine what is. And Shorty, a band who I'm sure you played shows with, but
Yeah.
you're tangentially connected to. Like, I can't imagine what was being said in that stretch by the people who actually cared.
Oh,
You know?
like I knew Derek because he lived in Green. If I get this right, I think his family lived in Green Pond in the summer, and
Yes.
he was friends with my girlfriend at the time. They were friends, so that was like my connection. That plus shows, I was connected to him, to that sense.
That is amazing. I have been to that house in Green Pond.
Yep. Like I think it was on. You had to like walk.
You had to take a boat.
Yeah, or there was like a rock path, but it was not. You couldn't park in front of it.
When I went, he picked us up. We parked on one side of a lake, and he picked us up in a boat.
Yeah.
It was quite pleasant. It was a quite pleasant weekend.
So the girl that I wrote every song about on the first Lane Meyer, like "Fuck You and Your Boyfriend, Don't Hate Me," that's about that girl was living on Green Pond. That's how me and her met. And
What
then
a small world.
and she was friends with Derek. Who knew about this? Like either during or after? Because you said you wanted me to connect because Ricky, and you were like, I got to tell him the story. So were there people during this who knew, and then when it was done, did you start kind of letting people in on it?
So this all happened my freshman year of college, and that was when it all was at this fever pitch. And I graduated high school in 98. So this was 98 into 99 because this all happened from my freshman dorm room at Rutgers. And me and my buddy CT from Hawaii were the only two who knew. Now, like I said, I wound up living with a bunch of kids who all went to West Essex High. So when Derek transferred from UMass to Rutgers, he and I lived together senior year. So that conversation with him, where him and his band were debating who is some kid, was in, I think, 98 or 99. So I lived with him in 2001 and 2002. So sometime around 2002, I told Derek Young, we're sitting around one day drinking. I said, hey, I'm going to tell you, I was one half of some kid. Some kid was two people, and I'm one of them. And he like spit out his drink and was like, are you fucking kidding me? And I was like, no. And he was like, no one must know this. And I'm not kidding when I tell you that. That was in 2002. And 17 years later, you are the next person I'm talking out loud about this with.
So the funniest thing about this is the biggest thing you feared, right, was, obviously it was like just revealing this in general. And now that you're doing it, this is going to be in a podcast and no one's going to fucking give a shit. But the funniest thing is that you're so plastered on the internet that everyone's going to know what you look like now. So the irony of this is hilarious to me. Yeah,
well, who knows? I mean, there might still be some kid who's like...
That would be fucking ridiculous.
Imagine if there's some kid who like used to roll with the Bergen County Youth Crew.
Oh, God.
And he's like, I've been waiting 20 years to figure out who some kid is. And he shows up at the Comedy Cellar one night when I'm on stage. He's like, you dumb fuck, you put your name out.
And someone fucks with you the whole time. Now someone just follows you to every like show and just fucks with you on stage.
Yeah, just from the darkness, from the back of some comedy club, I just hear, this one's for Lane Meyer, motherfucker. And like a full beer bottle bounces off my skull.
Well, I will say that the majority of people, a lot of people listen to this live in Jersey. So I think in a funny way, I bet you if you're in the Comedy Cellar, someone will just happen to be there in the city and be like, oh my God, it's that guy who was some kid. Let me just yell something to him on stage. Like, I hope that anyone listening to this, like, honestly, if you are that mad, like, please don't do that. Like, please don't be that mad.
There's
like,
no way.
Make it fun. I know that it's like the percentage of that happening is like -1,000.
Well, I wonder, here's the thing, because I assumed, like I said, like, it's one of those funny things, right? Like, I remember I have certain interactions in my life, like, certain people who I dated where I'm like, I ended that shitty, and I'll always feel guilty. Or, like a kid who I grew up with who, like, I went to college, like a good example. I went to college. This kid I grew up with, his dad died, and I was really fucking depressed. I didn't go to his dad's funeral. I always felt awful. Like 10 years later, I called him. I was like, this was so fucked up and I'm so sorry. He was like, dude, I don't even remember. Who cares? Like, yeah, it was really fucked up and sad. If I didn't have to be there, I wouldn't be there either. And these things where you kind of remember the guilt in the moment, and then all these years later, you're still feeling as guilty. And then you talk to the person and they're like, of course I don't give a shit. And I kind of assumed that that's how you were going to react. Like, I knew that that was the highest likelihood. What I'm really interested in is if any North Jersey people hear this and actually have beyond a vague recollection. Like, I assumed that you would react the way you did of like, yeah, I sort of remember someone fucking with us on our guest book. I kind of remember sitting around drinking and like some members of the band going ape shit fighting back. Like, I kind of remember that.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's anyone who's going to hear me say this and go, fuck, that was some kid. Like, I wonder if anyone actually remembers.
I'm pretty sure, because this thing has been unlocking so many memories for people. I bet there's got to be one or two that are like, I vividly remember this. And if someone like legit, and actually, I gotta say this too, which is funny because this is kind of hilarious that this is the last interview I did. So I just interviewed, and you can't tell anyone this. I just interviewed Travis from Buddyhead.
Okay.
So it's like, do you remember Buddyhead?
I do remember the name, but I don't remember being totally locked in with it.
They had a website that just shit talked like the music industry. And
hilarious.
they loved Ink and Dagger, and not Ink and Dagger, yeah, Ink and Dagger, and this other band. But they had Buddyhead Records, but they used to put on like Fred Durst's phone number on the website and say, hey, give this guy a fucking call, and give him some nookie or some shit. Or like John Mayer, they were like, here's John Mayer's cell phone, call him and tell him his mom's body's a wonderland. So like,
amazing.
yeah.
I remember Ink and Dagger. They were the ones who showed up and threw yogurt at Earth Crisis, right?
Probably.
Do you remember that show? There's a video. Dude, there's footage. It was at Middlesex County College. My brother went. It was sold out. So my brother and his friends couldn't get in. And some lunatic ran into an Earth Crisis show in a fur coat and threw a bunch of yogurt at them. And there's footage of it on YouTube. And a riot erupts. It's scary. It's scary to see.
Somebody talked about that in one of these interviews.
It was a show we all talked about, but it's funny. Like, trolling was a part of punk rock. Like,
yeah,
fucking with people was kind of a part, and these weird internal feuds that you look back and realize the feuds were probably a shame because it just wound up pitting creative people against each other. But trolling and being a dick, like, was it the Voodoo Glow Skulls? Did they steal their instrument? Or no, they got their horns stolen, right? Someone stole. Isn't there a famous 7-inch?
Sounds familiar.
Where somebody stole their fucking stuff.
There was a lot of shit.
That band Hickey put out a 7-inch that was all the voicemails of the Voodoo Glow Skulls calling them up and being like, give us our fucking trombones back, you dickheads. Like, trolling was kind of a big part of punk rock back then.
You see, like, me hearing that, I think that's funny. Like,
it is to us.
It is like they're not going through it.
Can I ask you this, which a lot of people from our era, I think, will recognize the sentiment. There's a beautiful thing now when I still go to shows, and at DIY spaces, they are publicly proclaimed as safe spaces. You come here, you are safe. Am I wrong in remembering that in North Jersey in our time, going to shows was anything but safe? People used to get the shit beat out of them. People used to get fucked with.
I don't remember that. I
remember being scared if I went to a show. Because I used to go for the pop punk bands, and if there were hardcore bands at the bill, like if NSYNC was playing the bill,
yeah,
I'd be like, now I gotta fucking worry that some dude in a hoodie is gonna knock me on my ass, man. Like,
that's a big difference. There's a big difference between the hardcore kids and the pop punk kids. Like the hardcore scenes, yeah. Like if I ever went to a hardcore show, I was nervous because I'm like, this guy's gonna be mad that I'm like, I wasn't eating a sandwich, but like maybe it would come up that I'm into eating meat or I drank or doing everything that they fucking, because they were so, I don't want to say though and generalize everybody. There was just some people that were so fucking against it. Where I'm like, relax.
Maybe the scene was just small, because I remember that one thing I remember that I appreciated about it back then was there were shared bills. Like, it was small enough when I started going to shows that like you couldn't have an all anything bill necessarily. Like, there might be a ska band opening and then 2 pop punk bands and then a hardcore band, but there weren't enough shows, so everybody was just jumping on. So it's like, yeah, man, like, all right, I'm coming tonight to see Thirsty or Egghead, but I also have to see Heckle, and their fans are a little fucking nuts. And
Yeah,
I don't feel safe being like Ensign is a great example of a band that I'm sure good guys, but like
they're fans.
or like being in New Brunswick, like all those skins around there, all those guys, like we're the Hub City Stompers, like Inspector 7 fans. Like, all right, I'm just trying to, guys, the automatics are coming through town. I just want to see the automatics, and I don't want to be in a room full of New Brunswick skinheads. Like I'm going to the Melody Bar because Boxcar is playing. I don't need some New Brunswick degenerates just fucking making me feel like violence could erupt at any moment.
Yeah, that does trigger memories because I'm on the NJPP archive for flyers and I'm like trying to see the mixture of bands and going, yeah, that's right. Because, like, um, I mean, this one, obviously, Newfound Glory, Piebald, Midtown, Lazy Cane, like that would not be a scary one. But you're right. If it's
No,
Ensign was there or Uprise or.
I think it certainly grew to a point, and I think your era was the one that made this so where NJPP was, I think, the thing for me that made me realize, okay, if a show is listed, if it has that NJPP logo on it, it's going to be bands that are having a little more fun, and the songs are going to be a little bit more about heartbreak, and there will be more of a female presence there,
Yeah.
and it will be less of. I just remember so well. Do you remember those guys, the Bergen County Youth Crew? I
I
remember that.
remember I remember the like
Oh
hearing
God,
about them. The
I
name
am
sounds
old enough.
familiar.
I remember going to shows where it's like, oh, those guys showed up here and they're going to do that wall of death thing. And I'm standing in an X-Men t-shirt and I should probably just go home.
And I'm 100 pounds.
I weigh 100 pounds. I'm wearing an X-Men t-shirt and a pork pie hat. And I just should go. Dude, I remember once going to see, I went to Montclair State University to see Helmet because a bunch of my friends were into like harder stuff.
Whoa.
And those guys from that band Bulldoze showed up. And I don't know if you remember that band Bulldoze, but the guy killed it. He went to prison. He killed a guy on stage. Like, all right, let's go home, guys. Bulldoze is here.
Holy shit.
Let's get out of here, dude. It's like, just,
I don't remember that. He killed a guy on stage?
that was what I always heard. Who knows? Maybe it's an
Oh.
urban legend, but that's what I always heard, that he went to prison because he fucking killed a guy.
He's probably like a family man. He's like hearing this, like, that saddens me that someone thought this. It's like 3 kids.
Whew. Like, sometimes where I just felt like I am small and I have big glasses and I need to go because like seeing H2O, like super positive band, but some of their fans
Yeah, I
have a
didn't.
lot of,
I stayed away from that shit. I mean, I think I was intimidated and so turned on by like the hardcore girls because they were like they would jump in the pit and slam dance.
oh, they were so cool,
I'd be
dude.
like, oh my God,
So
I'm so
cool.
hot. Jeez, this is amazing. I'm so happy that you like fucking got on and did this. I'm trying to think if there's any more questions I have from you. Oh, real quick, you have to introduce me to Adam. I've
Yeah,
been trying to reach out to him to interview him, and I can't find his shit anywhere. I really have been trying to get his info. So if you have it,
yeah.
and I would love
I
to
believe I still
try.
have his. I have his. I think I still have his email address. In fact, I could check right now. I'm a little scared that it might be on the work address for my old TV show. Oh no, I have it. Yeah, I'll pass it on to you.
Awesome. Yeah, or if you
Yeah,
do like an intro and be like, hey man, this guy's doing this thing. You should totally do it.
yeah.
That'd be fucking amazing. Fuck, dude. I'm trying to think of like any more questions, but I think we might have just really tapped the well here.
Well, I just got to say thanks for letting me exercise this demon, this guilt, letting me get this off my chest because for years now I have always assumed that you guys would chuckle if you remember this, and I've always feared that there would be a small part of you that flew into a rage, and to be able to talk about it and know that that's not the case genuinely removes some anxiety, and I'm a very anxiety driven person, so thank you for that.
Well, I mean, so the funny thing is that I thought of is like, well, one, telling me like, I mean, I'm like, that's got to feel good. But now you got to wait, like, I don't even know how long. It's like probably like 5 weeks before this actually comes out. So now you got to sit in that and wait for what the
Well, I'm
response
just
is.
so excited to see if anyone remembers this. um, I have a
They have to. I mean, the funny thing about this too is that this is such a surprise because when we started talking, I was like, okay, this will be like a cool interview, and you were part of the scene and getting your perspective. The fact that I had no clue this is what you're going to talk about, and now I remember it so vividly. Yeah, I'm like, like, holy shit. Now I don't even know how to promote this when I first launch it because I'll say the person's name and what they did. It's like I almost want to be like your name and then some kid.
Well,
Or,
I'm all for it. I'm
but
all
it's
for
like,
it.
but I also want, because I didn't know what you were going to talk about. It's like I almost want someone like them to not have any idea until finding out, just like when I did, where somebody like, wow, that's fucking crazy. So I really have to think about this one for a
Well,
couple.
feel free to say that I was the mastermind behind one of the great North Jersey pop punk conspiracies of 1999.
I don't think I have
But
much room.
I'm in this weird perspective too, because it's this thing where I was a kid and you look up to people and you respect people. And I still remember fondly so many of the people from the punk rock days of my youth. And in my mind, I still hold them in very high esteem. And I feel like if any of them remember this, I'm going to be embarrassed. And here I am. And I'm like you said, like I've gone off and had a career that I think is pretty respectable. And
Yeah,
I'm proud of it.
I'm pretty
And
blown away. I mean, like if I'm on your IMDb, I'm like,
it's like
wait,
I've had an HBO special, but there's still a part of me that's like, oh, I'm going to be pretty embarrassed if the people from X, Y, and Z bands or this fanzine hear this and are like disappointed in me for doing this. It's so funny that I'm still hanging on to this.
but I think it's funny because it's like going from that. I would never expect to be talking to the person who was that name, that anonymous person, and then looking at your IMDb and you're like,
Yeah, like this
Iron
kid.
Man 3 as Juan, The
I mean,
Office as Trevor.
I
You were in
got
The
cut. My
Office?
scene got cut from Iron Man 3, to be fair. I was on The Office. Like, yeah, exactly. Like that motherfucker who
That's
spent
crazy.
a couple months in 1999 just being a dickhead to punk rockers in New Jersey went on to have an HBO special. What the fuck, man?
It's awesome. You're in The Other Guys. Let's see.
Yeah, and I was really annoying, and I'm like 50% embarrassed about it and 50% so proud.
But you also wrote on Saturday SNL? Did I see that right? Was it?
See,
Yeah,
I was
Saturday
a
Night
guest
Live.
writer there. Yeah, I was a guest writer.
What?
Like I've done some shit,
That's
man.
cool,
I've done some
man.
shit.
I mean, I think that's cool. If the some kid thing launched you to just take that, to find your, like, that take dabbling in that helped you find your voice, your direction, and get you out of a funk, or just kicks, just give you a boost to say, fuck, I kind of figured out what my thing is gonna be, and it's gonna progress over the years. I think that's
Well,
wild.
and dude, I will say on a very positive note to give credit to you and your compatriots and bands
For being so
uh,
mad.
for being so angry that it fueled my creative juices. But no, to say like, you know, I went to those shows back in the day because A, it was something to do, and B, I was a kid who, you know, saw my brother get fucking brutally bullied. Had to fucking I was like the 110-pound kid in high school who got in a lot of fights because I was like, I can't let that happen to me. So I was angry. I was a little violent. I was pissed off. And I think those are some qualities that led a lot of us to punk. But you get in those rooms, and what I realized very, very much so, and I knew it then and I knew it now, is I saw kids my own age making stuff and directing that energy towards stuff that was productive and very often positive. And I'm telling you, if anybody looks at my career, like there are a lot of people who are a lot funnier than me and they quit over the years. And I always would be like, how can you quit? And I'll tell you, I look back to growing up in North Jersey and I just think that for all its flaws, I feel like North Jersey, especially in the 80s and 90s, like it forced us all to be a little tougher. Like we all took this weird pride. You got to be tough. Like that was pretty damaging in some ways, but I never fucking quit. And so much of that is because of North Jersey. And I always knew in my gut of like, I'm not going to quit because if I don't make it on TV, there's got to be a way I can fucking do it myself. Like,
Yeah.
I always believed that. And I always knew that. And that was from punk. That was from going to shows. That was from seeing bands that were, I'm old enough that it was like, the Bouncing Souls were still a local band when I started going to shows, and a few years into it, they weren't a local band anymore. And like seeing that, being like, they, getting to Rutgers and people being like, oh no, that's the house Bouncing Souls lived in. And being like, I live down the fucking block, like people who are from where I'm from found ways to do it themselves. That always fueled my fire, man. It always did. And it always allowed me to keep my chin up in an industry that is not always easy. Like comedians very often like to say they have hard lives. I don't have hard lives. Like coal miners have hard lives, but it is an industry where like there's no way about and there's no way around it. Like you're gonna take it on the fucking chin many times. And I just knew punk rock taught me from a young age, 13 years old. All right, there's a way to do it yourself. And Jersey taught me you don't fucking quit. Like you don't quit. Like Jersey kids don't quit. As a rule, there's not too many people I knew who rolled over growing up. And those things informed me. So really, honestly, in some small way, like thanks to you and thanks to all the bands I saw and thanks to fucking I could go down the list, man. Thanks to fucking Boxcar. I've thanked Graham from Felix Fromp. Like thank One Nature from Boundbrook. Like thank all the bands that I saw as a kid who were not much older than I was, who grew up in towns not far away from where I grew up and made me realize from a young age, like, nope, there will always, when they slam the door in your face, there's a back door. There's a way that you can do it. And it really did inform me in a major, massive way. And that is not bullshit.
So it's like I usually will end it by asking what your scene ethics are after I ask you to plug something, but I feel like you just basically said it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the scene ethics, right? To me, the scene ethics is like, you know, it's that, to me, I always think of, I think the major quote that I think of when I think of punk and when I think of how it crosses over with being a creative person who's not in punk today, I think of stuff I've done and some of the strange stuff. And the quote I always go back to is fucking Minor Threat, right? Like, you tell me I make no difference. Well, at least I fucking tried. What the fuck have you done? And to me, that's it. That crystallizes the positive side of punk rock. And thank God I grew up in North Jersey, man. Thank God I grew up in New Jersey because if North Jersey taught me one thing, and like you were saying before, we were joking, not all the bands were great. North Jersey taught me, who cares if I'm the funniest comedian in the room? I'm never going to be the funniest. I'm a weird looking guy. I'm never going to be the most photogenic, the most charismatic comedian. I'm never going to be you put me in a fucking room with a bunch of network executives. I'm never going to know how to rub elbows. But I grew up in North Jersey, and I promise you, no one can out hustle me. No one can out hustle me, man. And that's because I grew up in Jersey. No one will fucking work harder. And that's because I think we all grew up seeing our fucking dads slug it out hard. And then we took that and we applied it to our art. And I don't think I'm the only one who says that. Of like, for me, it was like, if I'm going to be in comedy, I'm going to work as hard as my fucking dad did. And he worked hard. And I think a lot of us had those values in North Jersey. So that's the ethics, dude.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, this is so backwards, but I now want to have people like tell people where plug whatever you want to plug, but I think you should probably put your website on this plug.
Yeah, man. I mean, like I'm always doing shows on the road. ChrisGeth.com is where you can find out with those. I just had a kid, so I'm not going on the road too much until the second half of this year, but I'm going to do a big blitz September, October, November of 2019. I will say for the punks listening, I just started a new show. My TV show wound up on cable. It got canceled. I'm going back to public access with a new show called Chris Gethard Presents. And the whole goal is that it's not me hosting it anymore. It's me grabbing younger comedians that I really love, who I think deserve more spotlight, and trying to give them that spotlight. I think it's very much in the punk rock spirit. I think public access is a very sort of like punk adjacent platform in its ideals. So for the punk kids finding this, that's the project that I hope can catch some support in our community, because I think it's the one I'm doing right now that most speaks to the side of me that's like, no, you build the scene and you support the scene.